Hare Krishna. This is really what's kind of spawned this presentation is, I suppose, an attempt to rise to the opportunity that the GBC resolution brings. And actually, as you probably or may not know, this was sponsored by Srila Chaitanya Prabhu and supported by Deva Amrita Maharaj. And what I recall initially, they wanted 2022 to be the date where it would be implemented. But we thought that actually that may be too far. So we suggested that they modify it to at least there be a plan. So as we saw earlier, the resolution reads that by Janmashtami 2022, all the temples with deities should have a plan that their milk and milk products come from protected cows. In one sense, that's just, you could say, it's a step forward, because there's a lot more to consider. What about the departments? What about the devotee? What about the world? So this is a methodology that it's just a way of making some progress in the thought. So next slide. So here's the cow. The cow that the GBC have given us to populate the earth. A cow that can produce milk for all our deities. Resolved by Janmashtami 2022, all Iskcon centers should develop a plan whereby all milk and milk products, butter, ghee, yogurt, etc. offered to the deities are procured from protected cows. The centers may approach the International Ministry of Cow Protection for assistance. How many of you knew about that resolution before coming here? So half. Now, the question is, how many devotees or temple presidents who have deities are thinking about this? Probably not many. So, it wasn't. So here in Europe, actually what's happening over the last year, since our last farm conference, Kalakanta suggested that rather than just having one person responsible for Europe, he suggested we have more people looking after Europe as representatives of the ministry. So in Europe, there's like, the whole GBC got the whole world carved up in different sections, zones. So we're kind of given a representative of the ministry to each zone within Europe, and you'll see that later on. So what's also happened is, since our last farm conference, by the way, those of you who don't come to farm conferences, please come to farm conferences, because you get so much information from other temples that can help and bring that information to your attention. So last year since the previous farm conference, we started a system called Zooming, where it's a medium where you can basically have a conference with people from all over the world. So on a regular basis, a monthly basis, we're meeting with all the key representatives of Europe on a monthly basis to talk about issues with the cow protection and ministry. So in order to do this, what would you? Well, anyways, when I saw this resolution, a realization came to me. This is like you've been given a cow. So how do you populate the earth with one cow? How do you do it? You have a bull. You need a bull. So in other words, and a bull is a potent bovine, it's a potent male. An ox can do the draft, but for expanding your herd, you need a bull. So we need devotees who are like bulls, who have this kind of creative potency to give this some shape. Otherwise, just another resolution on a piece of paper. But who is going to activate it, stimulate it, impregnate it with activity? So we thought that, so it's funny to do it here. So we thought that it's an exciting challenge. But actually, it's just a very simple layer. We heard, how many farms we have. How many devotees now are turning vegan because they can't drink protected milk? Who in the world can provide protected milk apart from the devotees? Only devotees can do it because only devotees know that cow has a soul. Where other people have tried to do it, at some point they just culled. They culled the older cow, they gave it up. So only devotees can do it. So we have to do it. So it's a great challenge for us. But so to do it, we have to get devotees. We have to find people as leaders who have some creative potency, who can give this life. Otherwise, it remains a piece of paper, and we're still not doing it. So our responsibility as leaders, those in the field, we have to find people who can help unlock its secrets, to unroll this kind of a new kind of mechanism of actually producing milk for our deities, our projects, and our devotees, and the world. Okay, next one. So anyway, so where do you start? You can start with, well, how much land have you got? How many cows can you put on that land? You can start with how big a herd you want to go for and what land you need, how much milk you get from that. Or you can start with how much milk you want and how do you get from that way. So at different points you can start your analysis. Next one. And these are kind of things, just some thoughts that come to your mind. Land, how much, are you going to be self-sufficient or sustainable? Nobody realistically has really seriously tried to be self-sufficient. Because as soon as you've got a bit of metal, where does the metal come from? So at best it's sustainable, and sustainability means at least you can continue doing it. So sustainability is measured usually in terms of social sustainability, economic sustainability, and environmental sustainability. So at least make a plan that you can keep doing it. Pasture, how much grazing per land, fodder, are you going to grow it? Are you going to buy it? Are you going to grow some? Are you going to buy some? Some plan to take this into account. The manor, we grow a bit, most we buy. Certainly all the bedding straw we buy. It's a sustainable model. There's an economic model to support it. Again, bedding, do you have mats? You're going to put straw beds down? What are you going to do? And another consideration, how many cows are you going to have in total? How many calves do you need to come to that total? And how much milk we get per calf? Let me ask you a question. How much milk do you get per calf?
Over the lifetime of the like as long as the cow will produce?
If you have a calf,
yeah.
How much milk will a cow give you from having that one calf?
Maybe 6 years of milk.
Depends on the cow.
This is the question.
Depends.
How much milk do you get from one calf?
It's the breed.
Depends on the breed.
Yes?
The breed depends on the pasture.
Okay, what's your figures? Give me your figures.
Holstein can be like 40 liters a day if you maximize.
So how many liters of milk will you get from one calf?
Oh, you can multiply it out, I don't know.
Okay.
I didn't do the math because it's so impractical to think that way.
240 gallons.
He would know that than me.
Total. The whole life of the whole lactation, non-stop from beginning to end?
No. I just thought during how much the calf would drink.
Because we know.
It depends on how much
The Swiss that I'm thinking of, if you think 4 liters, and then 3 liters, and then 2 liters on a 3-year basis, if you assume a persistency decline instead of like a really awesome gene that goes on, not liters, gallons per day, times 7, times 52.
30,000 liters.
Quite a bit.
You got very pretty cows. This is crucially important because it requires this type of. You have to give this time. You've got to give this analysis time. Recently, I did a study. There was a farm in Leicester. There was 50 acres of land. I thought, okay, let me see what it would take to put on a 50 cow herd on this project. It took me 7 days to do a detailed analysis to work all these things out. In other words, to do these things, you have to give it time. You've got to know what is your calculation points. We know that our cows give milk for more than 1 year. So what's the average? Here in your brown Swiss, what's the average amount of time they'll give milk for a calf?
5 or 6 years.
Why do you say that?
I've heard from other devotees that raised them, that they will give for 5 or 6 years. Some will give longer, but that was the average figure.
Okay. Any figures?
The genetics really differ, and Gitanagari, the recent Gitanagari milk program that started in 2010, so about half of their animals are still producing. The other ones, some will only last a year or so and then go dry. So it really depends on the genetics of the animal.
I did a study for 20 years at the manor, a meticulous study about all the yields. Average was 4 years, 4.25 years. Some get milk for 9 years, they're still doing 18 litres a day after 9 years, some are just drying up after a year and a half. Average is 4 years. You've got to have some figure to be able to extrapolate forward. And you also have to work out, well, what is Peru?
40 years, and it's like average half every year.
Not exactly. Again, there's many variables.
Yeah.
The way I look at it is 5,000 the first year, 3,000 the second year, 1,000 the third year, 500 the fourth year. But realistically, the lactation curve is like over 7 or 8 years, but that's just, you have to have something to make calculations for. So we have to have some figures based on something. And then what does that mean? How big your herd will be? How long does a cow live for?
20 years.
20 years at most. 20, 22,
25.
25?
22.
22?
20-year average. I think.
20 average?
18 average.
18 average. Where do these figures come from?
Again, from devotees that are taking care of cows, told me.
We were getting out here, they got a cow that's how old? 20, 30, 32 years old or something like that? 25. So you get a figure like, oh my God, my cow's with... No, that's just one cow. Again, you have to have some figure you base it on. If you look at the... again, my figure is about 16 years. You're going to lose cows and calves, there'll be occasionally accidents, you have to have some figure you base it on. 18, I would say the average life a cow will live if it gets beyond, there's no extraordinary things like death or birth or accidents. 18 is about the average, but some will live more. If your herd gets generally given, you have to bear that in mind. In other words, you have to know how much milk you're going to produce by putting a calf a year. Another phenomenon that we haven't really factored in, that no one's really thinking about in great detail, is the possibility of getting milk from cows that haven't even had a calf. Most farms around the world have cows that give milk without even having a calf. Exactly how far it goes, we don't know. We know that ladies have the ability to produce milk just by stimulating themselves. Cows have that same motherly ability. That's another factor you may want to put into your figures.
Syamasundara, in Belarus they have like cows which are not having a calf since 2008, and they still harvest 40 liters a day from all the cows. Just by milking it.
Yeah, in Germany there was a cow there, her body was slightly swollen. I said, well, why don't you give it a go? So they gave it a go, and she was giving like 8 or 10 litres a day. I don't know how many years she was doing it for. About a day, same thing, they had a Jersey cow, had a calf. When the calf was just over a year and a quarter, she started bringing her into the milking parlour, pulling on her teats. She started giving milk. So, and I don't know how long she get milk for, then they put her in calf at some point. So this is a magical formula that the cows have. So again, developing a plan, it means you've got to give it time. A lot of time, the reason why we're not doing it is because we're not giving it the time to work out what the problems are, how we can solve them. But we have to do it. Who else is going to do it for us? So we need to find devotees who have that creative potency, who have that analytical ability to help us get over the blockages that we're, self-imposed blockages that we're in. Here we are in New Vrindaban. This is the flagship. This is the place that more things are written about by Srila Prabhupada than any other form, I think, by my knowledge. We want New Vrindaban to be the example, pushing out this example of producing milk for the deities, for the projects, for the devotees, for the world. We need temples to be doing this. Because it's kind of our legacy. I heard we have a facility, we can have 200 cows here. So is there a plan to breed 200 cows here, to have 200 milk? Is there a plan for it? Is there not a knowledge how it can be done?
So you're all going to move here, right? I'm saying, let's make this your baby.
Here's social responsibility. You've got 2 devotees milking 7 days a week. Is that socially sustainable?
No.
Who's looking at it? Who's thinking about it? You have to have people who can analyze these things. What is the model I was talking to Asasada Proof. It's about getting, what is a model that we can repeat, we're not talking about having to do something wild and mad, something that actually is sustainable. We must have the model to do it, which means we have to invest people with the time and energy to give that analysis. But it's not rocket science. All we do is got a general idea. Let's get it down to our particular area. Next slide, please. Budgeting. How far ahead do you plan? Well, cows may live on average 15, 16 years. You've got to plan that high. So as part of the ministry initiative, one of their policies is that if you want to start a new farm, you have to qualify yourself for a certificate of readiness, which means to demonstrate that you know what you're doing. So part of that is very detailed analysis. Your budget for 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, projected forward. And again, the question, what kind of land, what is your management system? Let us see that you know what you're doing. When you do this process, you think, actually, yes, we can do this. And what comes out is you cannot sell milk at $10 a gallon.
No.
Your milk is going to be $20 a gallon in that region. Now, as I thought it was, anyway, I've got to do your thing tomorrow, but you have to price things according to what real people can do. Everywhere I have people tell me that no one to do things. If you don't pay them, then no one's going to do it. This is Grihasta domain. This is Vaishya domain. Vaishyas are productive. They're making a fortune. They're making a living, which means the economy oils the system. If you want devotees, you have to make sure that devotees can make their living from what they're doing. So what is that rate? Is it $10 an hour? No, it can't be that. People won't work for that. What does it take to pay someone to get them to come and milk a cow? What you have to find, what is your rate in this particular area? You have to solve this problem. If you don't solve the problem, then don't be surprised that people don't come. But we have to do it. We have to put people in place who can solve these problems. What is the model for New Vrindaban? This is one of our first things that we did. We sent out a survey. We asked all these representatives, contact your deities or your deity departments in your area. Let us know what their dairy use is. How much ghee are they using? How much butter they're using? How much yogurt are they using? How much milk are they using? And then from that you can extrapolate what their herd might be. So, can you go next one? Here's a little graph we did. In other words, there's certain figures you can base. You can go next one. It's a bit complicated. But basically what we're saying is that if you say someone's producing 5 litres, they're using 5 kilos of ghee per week. You can calculate what that means in terms of a year. You divide that figure by 0.03, and that will tell you how much litres of milk you need to produce each year to get that amount of ghee. Of course, then that's all cream, so there's a certain amount of skim milk left to decide what to do with all these things. So it's kind of a preliminary thing. What is the scale of our milk need? Now you're used to the deities, but what about New Vrindaban's responsibility? Is it just New Vrindaban? What about all the other temples in the whole of America? How many sets of deities are there? Maharaj, how many sets of deities are there in America? I'm an ex-deity minister. A lot. We have to help them. And this is a project. This is a massive project. Okay, next thing. Anyway, this is an example. This is Radha Londonishvara. This is just a deity department. I did a little study. They use 100 litres of milk per week. They use 12 kilograms of ghee, 6 kilograms of butter, 9 litres of cream, 25 litres of yogurt. And so I calculated that they need 30,000 litres of milk. They need 3 calves a year, which comes to 45 or 50 cows. The yogurt, they can make the yogurt from the skimmed milk. You can make Greek-style yogurt. You get like 75% less, or something like that. So 25% less. So these kind of calculations have to go into. We heard all this morning the devotees here, they have to drink skimmed milk. Okay, excellent. And then here's projection forward. You kind of calculate. It's again a little complicated, but how many cows are in the first year of lactation? How many in the second year of lactation? How many in the third year of lactation? How many in the fourth year of lactation? kind of analysis like this. You shake your head because when devotees look at this thing, they come to the same realizations. It's like, you milk a cow, more or less people get the same experience with cows. So when you analyze it, you come to a similar kind of analysis. Next one. And you've got to take care of the devotees. This is very, very important. If you don't take care of the devotees, they cannot stay. They have to be able to maintain their family. Griha, kshetra, sutta, apta, their house, their work, their children, their social life, their accumulation of assets. This is what grihastas need to have. If you don't provide it for the people working on their farm, they're going to go and drive a bus and do it. But we provide their needs, there's much more chance they're going to stay than if you don't. So we have to make sure that the devotees are taken care of. If someone's coming in the morning and milking a cow, and they're coming in the afternoon and milking a cow, they're going to feel that they've been working from 6 till 6. That's the psychological effect on it. So maybe as part of the schedule, you get them milk early in the morning, then in the morning they do something else. You have to find some way to make it socially sustainable. And ox work. It's very easy to train an ox. Hope we didn't offend any ox drivers. Very easy to train an ox. It's very easy to train an ox driver. This is my experience. I had 2 oxen. After 15 hours of training, I was being pulled by a cart. I was stunned. I thought, my God, this is incredible. Just to kindly, gently, firmly, and wow, they just slip into it. So it's easy to train an ox. It's easy to train an ox driver. At least it is with the male harness. We'll get to that topic. But what's hard is, are you willing to allocate the work for the oxen that you're willing to pay for? Because here you've got so much farmland. If you're not willing to pay for the ox driver to do that work, then you do it with a tractor. It's easier. So your oxen will work as much as you're willing to invest in the work that they do. So decide, what work are our oxen going to do? And accept the cost of the people. You have to give a value to that time. So there's no problem with oxen working, they're ready to work, but you have to manage it that they're doing that work. And then visitors. If you've got people coming to the Goshalla, there's a time factor there. If you want your Goshalla people to do all the milking and all the visitor interaction, maybe you have to consider, do they need some assistance in all that? Okay, that's a little. Now here's a practical shape that we have for Europe. It's something that Kalakanapur is working on for America. We need representatives in America to take responsibility to go around, fly that flag, remind people of the importance of this work. So we have 7 zones officially in Europe. We kind of big brothered Ukraine, and we've got devotees allocated to each particular area. This is the last one. And when we were at the farm conference in Scotland, then Jimena mentioned that sometimes it's difficult to get people to manage Goshallas. So we need a Goshalla manager's course. A course that trains people with the ability to do these analysis that we talked about, to be able to do a preparation for a certificate of readiness. So this is something that the ministry is working on. We're having initial discussions about it. So the course will enable people, you can now go out and manage a Goshalla. And there are so many Goshallas that need managers who are really, be able to push it forward. So there's such a need for us to actually have not just a Goshalla that we're maintaining, but there's a dire need that we have to have a mission of cow protection. We have to have some system that we're just going from the next project to the next project to the next project. We're growing all the time to keep it healthy. I remember reading the Panchatantra, and it says that with your wealth, you can't just hold on to your wealth. If you just hold on to it, you're going to lose it. To keep your wealth, you have to try to increase it. And I think, to me, this is a symptom I see with our Goshallas. You try to maintain them, they dwindle. We've got to be expanding them, growing and growing, not just for their own health, because the world needs it. We need it as a society, and the world needs cow protection projects. And when the world gets really hold of our real models, they're just going to go gobsmacked. This is such a beautiful, this is what I really want us to hear and see. But we're failing the world in this regard because we haven't got the model sorted out. You go to farms today, and it's like they just started again. But we should be, by now, to 40, 50 years, we should have it really, really down. So this is kind of a kind of analysis that this policy by the GBC gives us the impetus to really start focusing, giving this a policy attention. So by Jan Mastery 2022, we have plans. And those plans are going to excite us because they're going to make us say, actually, yes, we can do this. And we can do it for this, then we can do it for the next stage, and the next stage, and the next stage. Okay. Hare Krishna.
Jai.